Hi, I'm Dr. Teena Cahill, and welcome to Wisdom and Beyond. Today we have a great guest who's going to talk a little bit about contribution and what she does. Hello there, Jill Whelan.
Well, hello there, Teena.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
But maybe really and truly, I should say, hello there, Vicki. So take a look at this face, make her a decade or two younger, right?
Yep.
And here we have Vicki from the Love Boat. Remember the little girl who was the captain's daughter? Well, she grew up. And she's an actress and a philanthropist, and we're lucky enough that she lives in Bucks County, and she's involved with Contact of Mercer.
I am. I'm involved with Contact of Mercer County.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Contact of Mercer County is actually a national organization, but I'm involved here locally. And what they are is an 800 number for suicide prevention. It's a hotline. It's completely anonymous. And one of the other great things about Contact of Mercer is they do have a special outreach program for the elderly. So people can volunteer and attach themselves to an elderly person and make sure that they give them a phone call every day. They agree on a time.
That's great.
Because one of the things that was surprising for me to know with the elderly is, especially those who might be shut-ins,
right,
is their fear, their great and absolutely understandable fear
right,
of dying alone.
I know.
And
one of the great stories in our family is that my stepfather, after my mother passed away, he lost 2 wives, and he, he could have been bitter, but he made another choice. And I taught him how to set up a peer counseling program at his church.
Oh, that's great.
Got his minister to back it, and they did it. So he had this peer counseling program going for a decade or so. And then as he became, more infirm and couldn't really leave, he started making compassion calls to people. So the last time he went into the hospital, I had a great relationship with his minister who would often get volunteers down there. They lived in Florida until I could get there. So last time we went in the hospital, I arrived. I went straight to the hospital. The minister was there. And I said to the minister, these calls that he makes. And he said, yeah. And it was clear this was the last time he would be in the hospital. I said, I still want him to make 2 calls a day. And the minister was sort of, are you sure? And I said, yeah, because I knew that my stepfather's dignity and self-worth was involved in making this kind of contribution. And so he did. Wow. And he called these 2 women even on the last day of his life. Oh, my gosh. And one of the women hadn't left the home for a long, long time. Wow. She got some volunteers to help her. I'll start to cry. She came to his funeral and told my grandchildren, or his grandchildren, my children, what it meant to her to have him call her every day.
Oh my gosh. Isn't that
incredible? That great? So,
I
think that what you're saying is true. I think as we age, if we're housebound, it is frightening to think that maybe no one's checking up on you. So that's a wonderful part of Contact.
Yeah,
that
it's
they
terrific.
Do that.
And
that's
another part is that they do have and they have gotten some new special training to help the military because, for obvious reasons, more people are in the military now than have been in quite some time, and these suicides are on the rise.
Well, it's actually not that more people are in the military. There are actually fewer in the military
than
we've had historically.
Volunteers?
No, it's because they're having repeated deployments.
Well, that's right. That's true.
So what they're doing is really taking a huge toll. My girlfriend, Michelle Sherman, is head of the Family Counseling Center at the VA in Oklahoma City. And she writes on this. In fact, she has a book out from a bunch of teens whose parents have had many deployments. And, this whole idea of post-traumatic stress disorder has a really not only an effect on the person who's in combat repeatedly, but also their families. And so the military has really stepped up also to try to provide much better services, but there can't be too many services.
And that's
so
the
it's
truth.
Wonderful that Contact is doing this.
And they have been very supportive of Contact's work as well, the military
I'm sure.
have been. And so it's a terrific program, and it's a terrific organization.
How do your people get trained? Do you know how the training happens? I mean, I really, I might have a doctorate in psychology, but I'm not trained to handle these calls necessarily. I mean, maybe a little bit, but I would think there would be some specific training for volunteers.
They do have specific training, and they do repeatedly train. So that they can be refreshed quite often.
And do they bring people in from the national organization to do that, or how does that training happen? Do you have any idea?
I do not know if they bring people in from the national organization in, but I know that they do bring in crisis professionals.
That's what I would think.
To come in.
People involved in crisis intervention.
Correct.
Yes, that's what I would think they would need.
As well as the ministries as well to sort of help. And, you know, it takes a special person.
Well, I think it takes a person who cares and a person
Right.
who has good training.
Because, you know, a lot of the times, just, you know, contrary to what people might think, it's not just people that call in who are suicidal.
That's right.
You know, a lot of
Right.
times it's just somebody who really needs to talk.
Right, which is wonderful that this is available
That's
to
right.
do that.
That's
Now, how did you get involved in this group?
I got involved through a very dear friend of mine. She's now become a very dear friend, Bernadette Ger. And actually...
Bernadette's the vice president of the board, I think,
Yes, I
right?
believe so, yes.
Okay.
And Bernadette is also Lynn Doyle, who does our events every
Right.
year. She's our mistress of ceremonies. Lynn called me and said, you know, we've never met, but would you mind coming to an event that we're doing? And I said, sure, I'll come. And I met Lynn and I met Bernadette, and that's kind of how it all sort of happened. And I had moved here recently from California, and I was looking to do some more philanthropic work because I've always done it.
Right.
And this turned out to be a great fit.
And so you moved here with your husband, and you have 3 children.
Correct.
And so it's been a little hard to be out there in California filming shows right now when you're in the middle of your family.
You know, my children, my stepson Michael is in college actually in California, so
Okay,
if there's
good.
not coincidence or
Right.
irony. But my 15-year-old is here, and you know, he's 15.
Right.
That's
Needs mom.
an age where you don't want
Right.
to be an absentee parent.
Right.
And my 5-year-old is also very much in need of me being around all the time.
I'm
so,
sure. Well, I have a 5-year-old grandson.
Well, then
and
you're-
well, I woke up this morning. We live in an extended family home, and somebody had pulled up some computer program for young children. I don't know how that, maybe his brother did or something. But I noticed that he had typed his name into Google, and he had Googled himself.
Oh.
And
That is
Isn't that
great.
hysterical?
Oh my gosh, that's
I
great.
thought that was very funny.
That's
which is the only
outstanding.
word that he knows how to spell, except one other word, which unfortunately Grandma taught him, which I won't repeat on here. But it was a very funny incident.
Oh, that's great.
Right? Yeah.
That is great.
So, how did you get into being a child actress?
When I was very young, I grew up in the Bay Area in California, and my mom was very into the arts, not as an actor, but she was on the board of the San Francisco Ballet and so on and so forth. So she was very much into the arts, and she was also a preschool director. And during the summer months, she was still working for those parents who
Sure.
were working and needed her
Right.
her care. And so she needed someplace for me to be, because I kept trying to teach her class for her.
Sure,
And
okay. That's
I
great.
became a hindrance. So she was looking for something that was creative, and they happened to be doing a local production of The King and I. And she thought, oh, well, The King and I theater,
Lots
that's
of
good.
kids, yeah.
Lots of children in that
Right,
chorus, that'd be
right.
good. So that's kind of how it started.
That's
And
interesting.
I sent my picture in unbeknownst to her to an agent in
Okay.
San Francisco. And
How old were you when you did that?
7.
So that's something that you wanted to do.
Oh, yes, without a doubt.
wanted
She,
to do
it was not, yeah, no, she
Good.
would have preferred not to have me do it.
Yeah, but how did you like it?
Loved it.
How was it to be part of the crew? I mean, what was your experience?
Oh,
of
it was
that?
an incredible experience. It was a great group of people, and I have a great family. So I was one of the luckier
Right.
ones in terms of getting out sort of unscathed
Right,
in
right.
terms of being a kid in Hollywood, because it
Right.
can be pretty daunting.
Right, it can be daunting, but if you have good parents, I think it's manageable.
it's all about that.
Yeah,
It's all about that.
And so then you got into. So as you grew up, did you go off to college?
I did. I went to college in England for a while and moved to New York, and then
Have you worked as you've worked as an adult as an actress?
Oh yes,
also.
yes.
It's
Couple
a
of
tough
soap
business.
operas.
It's
and
a tough business.
It is a tough business, and I'm putting my foot back into the water now because my youngest is about to start school, and
Sure.
so it'll be a little bit easier. But you have to be
Right.
creative. If you
Yeah.
have children, you make a choice.
Right.
You're either going to be a parent.
Well, I went back
or-
to graduate school when my youngest went off to school.
Yeah,
I
and
mean, you
that's-
still have to be creative, but
Yes.
it's easier than if they're in diapers.
Exactly right. And so now I'm starting to get back, and I have a couple of projects that I am working on that I'm also producing.
Good.
So that's
That's
good. I
great.
teach acting to kids and adults in the Bucks County area, and comedy improv to adults down in Philadelphia.
And
'cause I
that
used
must
to
be a
teach in
lot of
Los
fun.
Angeles. Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
Great.
I took a class in improv here at the Princeton Adult School a couple years ago, which had a great time. And all over town, the people I took the class with, we all laughed. We had a great time.
Yeah. It's very cathartic, isn't it?
It's really fun.
It's kinda like therapy.
Well, you know what I thought was interesting? For myself, not the other people. I mean, what I realized that when I would respond in a certain way, there was sort of a theme to my responses, and I was thinking, isn't that interesting? Whenever I respond in this impromptu way, there's kind of I see where I'm coming from. I wonder why I'm coming from there.
Isn't that
You know?
interesting?
I know,
Yeah.
that was funny, but nobody was interested in that. But okay.
Well, but that's fine.
Luckily,
As long
I
as you
didn't
got
say it
something
out loud. You
That's
know,
all
I
right.
didn't tell anybody I was thinking that.
But it's great for kids too, because I have a lot in my acting class with kids. I teach them improv as well. But even for those who don't really want to be actors,
Right.
as you know, with your psychology background, it's role playing.
Sure,
So it
it's
really
fun.
gives them an opportunity to become a little bit more assertive in
Sure.
their own life. It's a wonderful tool.
And to understand what it's like to be somebody else, and how
Exactly
that
right.
must feel, and the
Exactly
motivation,
right.
and all that kind of fun stuff.
Making a different choice.
That's right.
In a
Exactly.
situation. It's great. It's great.
Now, any of your kids interested in acting?
The youngest one, I'm not so sure quite yet. My 15-year-old is really interested in writing and directing, and he's been editing, with Final Cut Pro and all of those
Good.
computer things. And he's fantastic, actually. He's got a great eye.
Good.
So.
That's great. Well, my granddaughter was watching Legally Blonde the other night with Reese Witherspoon, and that's such a great series of movies. They're
Yes.
so empowering
Yes.
for young girls. And I actually took her to New York to see the Broadway play, which was filled with grandmas and their granddaughters, by the way. So that was really fun. But I noticed at the end that Reese Witherspoon was the executive producer. And I thought,
Isn't that great?
good.
Yeah,
I like
that's
to
great.
see that title there.
Yeah.
Good for her. Smart
Yeah.
girl.
Well, you have to, especially in the kind of business that I'm in.
Sure.
You need to start, and as I'm getting older, I'm not really the ingenue role anymore. You have to start creating your own.
That's right. I see
work.
actresses do that all the time.
Yeah, you have
Yeah.
to do that. So.
Yeah, but it's always good to have your finger on the bottom line.
Yeah.
As the
I
producer,
agree.
I think that's
I
a great
agree.
thing, rather than just being the talent.
That's right. Absolutely.
Which is always kind of a funny term to me when I hear that term. I mean, I think it's started out being meant as in a respectful way, but I think when you get into the down and dirty of it,
Well, when it
it's
became more
not
of a
about
business,
the money. Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Talent sort of,
Yeah. Yeah.
became something
Although
else.
actors and actresses, centuries back were looked down on here in the United States. They were thought to be sort of rowdy or something.
Well, they were all
which I hope
over.
they are. I mean, I think rowdy is good, but
we have known to do that, especially
Yeah,
if
well,
there's free food.
I'm
involved.
all for it. Let's go for it. But so I guess they sort of had to work their way into now it's celebrity. It's gone from rowdy
Yeah, now it's
to
become
celebrity.
something else, and,
Yeah.
and it's not
Yeah.
about acting anymore. Well, that's why us actors like to do the theater, because that's really what it's
Absolutely, much more fun, I think. And it's true. Well, but I think your celebrity works for you for a while. I mean, it would work for you because why not use that? I mean,
Well-
like when Lynn Doyle called and said, will you come to an event? I mean, you're in a position to make a choice about where to put your time around things that matter, and having some celebrity opens that door for you to contribute. I think that's a good thing.
Well, and that is true. I mean, it's very, I would never use my name to get to the front of the line.
Right.
But I would
exactly.
definitely use my name to
get
get people to
someone-
come to an event.
Or to get somebody else to the front of the line.
Exactly,
I mean,
exactly.
I'm all for
Or
that. I
to-
think that's the judicious use of power.
Yeah, and I think that you have to,
Right.
to do that. It's like the new thing that I'm working on now with pancreatic cancer.
And talk to us about that.
Oh, sure.
Tell me about this.
I am working with Johns Hopkins.
Mm-hmm.
They have an incredible program there run by Dr. Mimi Canto, and it's the Familial Studies program at Johns Hopkins.
So they're studying families to see.
the family relationship to pancreatic cancer.
Okay.
Because Dr. Canto has really been studying and identifying the markers to show that it is familial, and it is. And what we want to do as a charity is we want to make sure that we can educate people about that. So many times I've had in the last, 6 months, probably 2 calls a month about people, and they call me because they know I know a
Right.
little bit about it, because
Right.
my stepfather has pancreatic polyps, and his brother and his sister both died of pancreatic cancer.
Okay.
And he is in this familial studies program, and we just want to get the word out that if you have pancreatic,
early intervention, right?
well, early
Testing.
detection is
Detection.
absolutely the key, because
Exactly.
unfortunately, for most people, 99% of people, by the time you know you have pancreatic cancer, it's too late.
But I have to tell you, as we talked about that, I have a very close friend who is a little miracle here, and
Right.
she's
what you were
doing
saying,
very
yeah.
well 4 or 5 years out, which is
is
unheard of.
spectacular.
I think it's 4 years out, which is unheard of, and so there's hope. I mean, in
There
all
is.
of medical science, there's hope.
Of course
because
there is. Of
people,
course there
my
is.
husband who's disabled and has many challenges is alive 20 years later after being given no chance to live, and I think he's just one of millions of people.
I agree
and
with
so
you,
the great news
100%.
is early detection is really important because there is hope.
But and also aggressive detection in terms of in this situation, if you have
Sure.
pancreatic
If
cancer
you know
in
it
your
runs
family,
in your family, you can make sure.
You need to get
Right.
into the familial
Right.
studies program
Exactly.
at Johns Hopkins because
Okay.
they have satellite programs at UCLA. I believe there's
Okay.
one in Chicago. There's one
And
in
how
New
would
York.
someone do that? How would
They
you
can
do
go
that?
to the Johns Hopkins Pancreatic Cancer website. Just go
Website?
to Johns Hopkins, search pancreatic cancer
Okay.
and the familial studies program, and it's a phenomenal program. And we are going to be doing an
Good.
event actually September 28th. We're not sure what it is yet.
Okay.
We just had our meeting yesterday.
In this area? Or?
Yes, probably in Bucks County, maybe
Okay.
in the Soulbury area. We're looking at
Okay.
maybe doing a wine tasting,
Oh, fun.
kind of fun event, and
Just to get the word out.
We need to get the word out because
Yes.
it's so important. And if, like we say, if my father is in the program,
Right.
and interestingly enough, because he's getting the PET scans and
Right.
the CAT scans done every 6 months because he has 2 polyps on his pancreas,
Right.
they found 2 lesions on his kidney,
Wow.
which is the other silent killer.
Really?
And had they not found those lesions on his kidney and been able to laparoscopically remove them, we weren't sure what he would have died of first.
Wow. That's amazing.
So truly and
Amazing.
honestly, and they're not related. I mean, just
Right.
because he had the polyps
Right.
didn't give him the lesions
Right. Right.
and all of that stuff.
Right.
But it's a really important study.
Well, the truth is, in everything, early detection
You bet.
is the best thing
You
we can
bet.
do because there is hope.
There
There
is
is great hope,
absolutely
at
hope.
no matter what these days.
Look at
And-
breast cancer.
Exactly.
You know,
Right.
it's no longer a death
Well, look at
sentence
colon
either.
cancer.
That's
We have
exactly
a
right.
local author by the name of Wayne Cook who's done this show,
Mm-hmm.
and Wayne wrote a book called Living on the Other Side of the Curve, and it's about living with colon cancer for many, many years, whereas that didn't, happen a decade ago or something
Right.
like that. And by the way, when you say many people call in to contact of Mercer, which is a suicide prevention hotline, the reality is when people call in and they're not suicidal, that's prevention also.
You bet it
I
is.
mean,
You bet it is.
knowing that there's someone that you can reach out to and that you can talk to about things is important for all of us. And there's someone that won't be judgmental,
You bet.
that will listen to you. So, I mean, I think that's great that Lynn got you involved with this
Yes.
and you became part of this team.
Yeah, it's a terrific organization and so needed, so needed.
Yes, I agree. Okay, so I think we should get down to the down and dirty. Like I was the keynote
Okay.
speaker on a cruise a couple years ago.
Oh, well, let me
You'll
have a sip
just
of my
have to
vodka.
tell that. That's right. You'll just have to tell us about that stage where the Love Boat was filmed. And do the Love Boat people ever? Didn't one guy go to Congress?
Yes, Fred
Right.
Grandy went to
Okay.
Congress in Idaho.
In
Iowa, sorry.
In Iowa, yes. And he's not in Congress anymore, though,
No,
right?
no, now he
Okay.
does, he is a radio guy.
Oh,
now.
is he?
Yeah,
Okay.
He has a radio
well,
show.
so do you guys ever get together? Does the old cast ever get together?
We do. Just this past summer, we got
Cool.
together actually out in Los Angeles for the TV Land Awards.
Because
so that
it
was a lot of
becomes
fun.
like a family. Would
It
you
really
not
was.
say?
It really,
Yeah.
really was, and it was so great to see everybody. And
That's
Ted
great.
Lange, who played Isaac, the bartender,
Okay.
was just at my house.
That's great.
Staying around. I was taking him around because he was doing research on a play that he's written.
That's great.
He's a really prolific playwright. Say
Well,
that
that's
5
nice.
times fast.
That's nice.
And he's a great playwright and he's a great director. So we all
That's
hang out.
great.
Talked to Gavin MacLeod not too long ago.
And the Gavin MacLeod was the captain.
Correct.
That's right.
Yeah.
And is he still working in theater and acting?
He did a film I think a few years ago. He is the unofficial mayor of his town,
Oh, I
which
think
is
I read
adorable.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Of Pacific Palisades.
Good for
and
him.
He's just, everything you think of him, he is and more. He's a
Isn't that
terrific
fun?
man.
Now here's the big question: how did your agent do? Did you get residuals?
Oh yeah, we all got
good.
residuals. Yeah. No,
And
it's,
is it still? It must be still on television somewhere.
I'm sure it is. I know we're in 97 countries. Still.
Are you really?
So yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so, did the crew ever get, or did the crew or the cast ever get together and sort of go be the Love Boat people on a cruise ship? Because I know they bring in all kinds of celebrities and actors and people like that on cruise ships.
We
to
actually
get people to-
filmed on the ship.
You did?
Yeah, 6 weeks a year we did specials, and we filmed on the real ships, so that was pretty incredible.
But how about now? Do you guys ever go as a team on a cruise ship, and then everybody comes for a Love Boat cruise?
We have not done that, no.
See, that's a great
actually.
marketing idea.
Oh, well, you know, Princess
See,
ought
there
to
you
do
go.
it.
Yeah, Princess ought to do it.
Gavin is a spokesperson for Princess Cruises.
So there you go. You tell him
he does do that,
you
but,
guys need to do that. I did a cruise for caregivers.
Oh, nice.
Yes, and that was fun. And I was the
fun.
non-celebrity speaker and had a lot of fun with these people. It was
That's
really
fun.
a good time.
I love cruising. We go, our family goes once a year.
Do they?
Yeah.
I actually hate cruising.
Really? Oh my
Yes.
gosh, I love it so much. Oh,
Really?
God, I love it. You got to do it with a bunch of your friends.
Yeah,
It's
you have to
so
go with
much
a bunch of
fun.
friends and just have a wild, crazy party.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
it's
so
great
too.
fun.
Otherwise, I think it's a little boring. But it wouldn't be boring if you were shooting on the
No, that was
ship.
fun
That
too.
would be
but
fun. But you know, I think it's fun to go explore things.
Yeah,
And
it's
I
a
think
great
that's
way.
great fun.
Yeah. It's a great way to do that. I always tell people if you have a hankering to go to Europe and you've never been, take a cruise because it
Well,
really
on the
is sort of-
QE2, okay.
Well,
I could-
you know, anywhere.
Maybe I could like do
yeah,
that.
you might like that. But it's a great way because it's really sort of like a just a little sampling of 6 hours in this country, 6
Sure,
hours
it
in this
is.
country, and then you can decide.
It's like a
where
wine
you wanna-
tasting.
It really.
Yeah, there you go. So, say for your next thing, after you do the wine tasting, you can organize a cruise.
That's
and you
right.
can get everybody going.
Exactly.
Well, that's
a
great.
good idea.
So now, are you down in the Contact of Mercer office? Do you interact with the volunteers?
No, I mean, the only time
you're
I
on
ever-
the board, I know.
I am, and the only time I'm ever interacting with the volunteers is when we're doing the event, because I'm most active for their yearly gala. their
which you're
charity
going to have in
gala.
September.
No, the gala I'm talking about in September is for
Pancreatic cancer.
We
and
just
when
had
does
our
Contact have? Right, you just had one a few months ago
That's
because
right.
I talked to Bernadette Ger, who's on the board, and I think you were either just having it. Didn't you have it at Jasna Polana?
we had it at Jasna Polana,
Jasna Polana,
and
yeah.
it was a great event. We raised some nice money, which is
Good.
important.
And hard to do in these times.
Very hard to do.
I think
It's
all the
very hard to
nonprofits
do.
are having a rough go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you have your core people who believe in
Right,
what you do.
what you do.
And you just have to get creative to try to find ways to not spend too much money on throwing the event.
Right.
So that most of
It's
what you
absolutely
get
true.
goes towards.
It's absolutely true.
So, yeah.
Get everybody to sponsor and underwrite it.
Exactly.
I'm sure that's what you guys do.
Yeah,
That's
that's
what
what we
everybody
do.
does. Well, that's great. So how many people do you think Contact of Mercer serves? Do you have any clue?
Well, I can tell you that even though this is for this particular area, it's a nationwide
Right.
number. So
Right.
they can go to contactofmercer.org
Okay.
and get the hotline number.
Right.
But we do receive calls from all over because it is a national.
So you mean somebody might call here, but they live in Seattle?
Yeah, that is possible.
Oh, it is possible.
Yeah,
Would that?
If Seattle is overrun,
then
you know,
they'll just forward the calls to
Correct.
another
To-
one.
to make sure
That's
that
really
everybody
good,
has a-
actually. That's
yeah.
great.
Yeah. So
And is there a time of year? Do you know any of these statistics about when the most calls might come in?
holiday time.
Holiday time. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
All right.
but you know,
Well,
it's in these times though. Now it's more often than not.
Right. I would think the calls would be coming up. It's tough
Yeah.
times out there, but there's also hope.
There's
And there
always
are
hope.
ways to work out of tough times, and we sometimes need someone to help us find those ways.
That's right.
That's
and
right.
and I like the way you worded it about making another choice
That's right.
because it is all about choices.
Well, a lot about life is making a different choice.
That's right. And remembering that you have the choice.
That's right. Knowing that you have a choice.
Yeah, because
Well,
sometimes that's the problem.
I'm a cognitive behaviorist, so the research in this field tells us that our thoughts affect our feelings, and our
Without a
feelings
doubt.
affect our behaviors. So I'm always very aware of what I'm thinking. And sometimes we'll say to my grandchildren, you could make a different choice.
That's so funny. That's what I say to my son all the time. Make a different choice.
That's right.
Make a different choice. And I may be going, make a different choice. Make a different
I was
choice.
doing something the other day, and my granddaughter turned around to me and said, Grandma, what are you thinking? You could make a different choice.
God,
So
that's
you have
great.
to be careful about what you say.
Oh, I know
It
your
was
words
great.
will
I
come
loved
back
it,
to-
actually. I thought it was great. It was
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Well, it's true. And there are people who care about us even when we don't know that.
That is
And
so
people that
true.
want to give us support, and there's always hope, and it can take us to a better place where we can turn around and contribute to somebody else.
bet.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you coming to Princeton, New Jersey today to talk to us.
My pleasure.
It was very nice of you. And so this is Jill Whelan, known as Vicky, the captain's daughter on the Love Boat series, which I think you guys all remember. And Jill lives in Bucks County, and she spends her time she works on the board, volunteers her time with Contact of Mercer, as well as with the Johns Hopkins Familial Studies program.
Yes.
And the way you could connect with both of those organizations would be contactofmercer.org will give you the phone number where you could
Correct.
call if you'd like to volunteer or if you feel that you would like to take part in their services. And for
Johns Hopkins, I think probably right now, since this is a new organization that we're putting together, if they want to know about the event or anything like that, they can go to my website, which is just jillwhelan.com.
Okay, Jill Whelan.
Jillwhelan.
Okay, Whelan. I'll bet you've spelled that about, what, 2-3 million times in your life?
I only had a dime for every
Yeah,
time I did
right.
that. But and they can hit the email button on that, and if they have any questions, if they'd like to know about it, it's my acting school website. But
Okay.
of course, I would take any phone calls or
And
emails.
she does teach acting in Bucks County to adults and to kids, and
Yeah,
that's got to be
yeah.
great fun. I bet you have a great time doing that.
They're incredible.
Yeah, I'm sure it's great fun. Well, do you take care of yourself? Thank you for being
will.
here.
Thank you so
and to
much.
each
My
of you,
pleasure.
thank you for being here today too. Remember Contact of Mercer and the Pancreatic Familiar Studies program at Johns Hopkins. Thanks for being here. Nice to see you. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.